which is, yes, I took my entire family, a little less than 1-year-old and a 6-year-old and dog and everybody, moved in with my parents for 7 months at the end of '08 and early part of '09. And the reason being was that, well, bottom line, we needed to. We had started Human Capital Strategies in the beginning of '08, and things got very tough. And I didn't talk about it too much, not because I was embarrassed by the concept, because I'm actually very okay with it, but I didn't want to give you folks the wrong impression. You guys are where I get my bulk of my referrals and share the message about Human Capital Strategies. And so I didn't want anybody to fear that, oh geez, maybe they're going out of business or anything. Pretty much we decided to sacrifice everything in this world, except for our family, of course, and the company. And so now, a year and a half later, we have this. And for those of you that don't have it in front of you, it is a small list of accolades, awards, or recognitions that we received over the last year or so. And Barry brought this up last week, and unfortunately she's not here, but thank Mary very much for that. We were finalists for the Sterling Award for 2009. Our HR manager, who's now SPHR, was a finalist for HR Director of the Year. We're number 4 in Ranking, Arizona for 2010, and also number 12 on the Booker list for PEOs. And 6 of the companies ahead of us didn't actually verify any of their data, so we're going to call it 6 or 7, somewhere there. But that is the change that has occurred over the last 12 to 18 months. And of course, yeah, we're off on our own again. We got a house. So, but we're rebuilding. And how this was possible is, I like to say it was all me, but it certainly wasn't. It's possible because of the staff. And I know a number of you folks have either worked with us and have spoken with a number of our staff members, or just in dance cards and setups and appointments and stuff like that have spoken with them. And they are absolutely amazing. But the one thing that I can say is, if you go to the second page, everybody lives this at Human Capital Strategies. And it's our values. And it took us a while to really define these, and I had buy-in from basically all the employees, everybody. We really spent about a year developing this and refining it and tweaking it to make sure it really fit us. And it came down to virtue. And virtue stands for vision, integrity, respect, timeliness, unity, and enthusiasm. And pretty much that sums up who we are. Again, if you've dealt with any of the folks at the office, you can probably attest to that for me, and I appreciate all of the work that I have received out of the group, both as members and also referrals outside. But they are what make everything happen. I kind of am the first guy that everybody talks to, and I'm kind of this guy up here that makes sure that we're doing things as far as the direction of the company, new programs that we're offering our clients and our staff and our employees, etc. So I'm the two extremes, but quite frankly, the 95% in the middle, I don't touch most of it, and it's them. And it's because they do truly buy into all this. Everybody at the company has this stuff memorized. They live it, not only at work, but at home. This is who we are. And when people come into the company, like we're hiring somebody right now as a benefits administrator, this is one of the expectations and one of the requirements. And I know, Ted's back here smiling about making sure you get the right fit for the right position, etc. And they need to buy into that from the very beginning, the values. Because if they don't fit in our values, they're not going to be with us long term. And we're not looking for that. So our mission is to provide employers the finest payroll and HR solutions to manage personnel and ensure peace of mind. Now, that seems kind of simple, but quite frankly, that's a pretty tough job. We deal with every scenario known to man and woman that I have even begun to think of, and quite frankly, I get phone calls almost weekly with, hey, have you ever heard of this? No, that's a new one. All right, we'll figure it out and we'll take care of it for you. They go everywhere. Some of the things that we've dealt with, and just in the last year, I wrote down a little list. Obviously, some of the simple ones are sexual harassment, religious discrimination, an OSHA investigation, a Department of Labor complaint. We have helped several companies migrate a system so that it's easier to comply with overtime regulations, because what they were doing before just, it was really not good, and that whole ignorance is no excuse kind of thing. So we fixed a number of those. We cleaned up several clients who were paying 1099s because they think that you just get to make that choice. Unfortunately, the government's already determined if somebody's an employee or a 1099, you just have to comply with the rules. Again, ignorance. Most people don't realize it's already set, and they just, it's easier if I just pay them as 1099. So we've migrated them over and made that a relatively smooth transition for those people that are going from, I get my full gross amount, to something's coming out of my paycheck, and why is that happening, etc. So made that transition. Put together vacation policies, handle a number of COBRA things, and obviously COBRA has changed in the last year or so here. Hiring procedures, employee handbooks, etc. And the one that's most fun that we're dealing with right now is we're putting together, we do a lot of work with franchises. And we have one franchise in particular, we have a lot of their franchises. And so what they asked us was, well, could you put any type of metrics together that will tell us where we fall in with like an average of all of the 30 locations that you have, and and break it out by our different types of jobs, and are we above the average or below the average? And so we're putting that together for all of them. Now, I don't know how many other companies are willing to do something like that. We're not charging separate for it. It's just part of what we do for clients. It's these kind of value add things. But that is a huge value to these folks, and are very appreciative of the effort that we're putting in place. But again, that just kind of goes back to those values and who we are and what we do and so forth. And again, while I agree to it, the staff is the one that executes it, and I'm fortunate that they're capable and certainly able to do that. So, geez, I actually went through this a little bit quicker than I anticipated. So, any questions so far? Yeah.
What is your target market in terms of employee base?
In terms of employee base, well, Arizona is a state of small employers, so we've got a lot of one-employee companies. Several of you folks in this room are clients that are one-employee companies, all the way up to our largest client is about 450 employees. Yeah, and we have 2 of those. Ideal range, if I really were to pick, would be 25 to 75 employees, large enough that I'm not worried about them going out of business 2 days after I put them together, but at the same rate, small enough that we can make a decision this year. Because if it gets up to that 150, 250 size, it typically is several levels of review before we can make the decision to move forward. So, yeah.
Yeah, if I make a mistake and I'm not with you, with a past employee, what could that cost me?
It depends on what the mistake is, and depends on what the scenarios are. We've got a client that came on board, and this was when he was doing things as 1099s, and we converted them to W-2s, and unfortunately, he got found out for the year prior to coming on board with us. He got a $35,000 bill from the IRS. So that's one, and that was, I think, 8 employees. We've got another client that had 3 overtime violations, and put together, that was one of the DOL investigations that occurred. Those 3 overtime violations, they saved a total of $1,100, folks, and the penalty was $12,000. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen. Now, we're fortunate. They were a client at the time. That other one was not a client, so there wasn't a whole lot we could do. They were a client. We walked the DOL through exactly what we were going to do to change it, how we're going to fix it and everything, and we got that $12,000 mitigated to 0, as long as they don't violate it again, and they're probably on a short watch list right now, so they may very well come in and just take a peek at things, make sure that we are doing what we promised we were going to do, and they are, so that's good news. So, excellent question.
What's your favorite client story? Like they were just totally messed up and you turned them around?
Ooh, favorite client story totally messed up.
Better not use me.
All right, I gotta think again. Hold on. No, quite frankly, it might be that $35,000 one. When somebody comes to you and says, "Oh, this is the way we're doing it," or I got another one that I'm bringing on board right now. It had a sexual harassment issue going on. I'm like, "Wow, we got to fix this," and then move forward. And we did that. We take care of that whole problem, go through the investigation, deal with all those issues, and then start moving things forward. And now they feel like they can comply with the regulations and efficiently and confidently. So thank you very much.